Hey guys, so I just wanted to give you a little bit of a reminder of how we want to approach annotating specifically for our PBAs. So our first step is to read and annotate the prompt. So I'm going to use the highlighting colors that I have here, and I'm going to pick yellow for just kind of a basic catch-all highlighting color. So I'm going to go through my prompt right here. So it says, write an argumentative essay responding to the following prompt. What impact does technology have on relationships? Your essay must be based on the ideas and information found in the following two texts, okay? And then you have a list here of things that your essay needs to have in it. So I'm going to highlight this right here where it says argumentative essay, and I want to highlight that in yellow, and I'm going to make a comment. So I'm going to write down an argumentative essay will have claims and a counterclaim and a rebuttal. So I'm just reminding myself of the pieces that I have in an argumentative essay. This is different than like expository, where you are just kind of explaining. In an argumentative, you're going to have your claim and you want to look at the other side. And then you're going to kind of fight back your original claim, okay, with that rebuttal. And then I'm going to highlight my actual prompt. What impact does technology have on relationships? Okay, and so I'm going to highlight relationships specifically and make a comment. So our prompt is asking about relationships specifically. So I want to think about like family relationships, or maybe romantic relationships, or even school or work relationships. Okay, so we're not just saying what impact does technology have on our life, but what does it have specifically on our relationship? Is it good or is it bad? And then we have our two articles here. So I have my authors, so I know who wrote the articles. And then I'm going to highlight state of position, so I have to create my claim. So I'm going to write down, this is my claim. Okay, and then when it says provide an objective analysis of both claims and counterclaims, it explains it right here. We're going to address both sides. So we want our claims and counterclaims. So we want to look at finding evidence for both for and against. We definitely want to make sure we have text-based evidence from the articles, and that we have our in-text citations with these authors' names and titles that we have up here. Okay, so for my prompt, I know I want to focus on relationship and technology. Okay, so our next step with, once we have annotated the prompt here, is to write our in-text citations at the top of each article. So this article right here, we have our authors. So I'm going to highlight those names again, and I'm going to make a comment, and I'm going to write what I would put in the in-text citation. So I would say this is Rosen and Hampton because there are two authors. So that's what I should see after each piece of text evidence that you use here. And you would do this with the second article as well. But I only have the first article here. Okay, so once we do that, I have already labeled for you your claims on your left side and your reasoning on your right side. So this is where you're going to write down all your notes and your thoughts. And then I want to create my key. So what I want to do is I'm going to write, let me see here, I'm going to create, oops, I just messed everything around. I'm going to create my key here. Well, it's not going to let me write that. All right. Okay, so I'll do it right there. So I'm going to do yes. I'm going to do no. So we're going to create our key for one color using yes, and I'll make yes. We'll make that green for go. and I'll make that no for bad. So green for yes and red for no. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start reading and annotating here. And so on this side here with our claims, we're going to look at what kind of ideas are we seeing in the text. So I'm just going to do this first kind of introduction piece here, because as you see, we've got one author saying yes, is technology making people less sociable? And then down here, our second author says no. Okay, so we actually have both sides in this one article. But here we have kind of an introduction piece. So this is where I'm going to start. And we're looking at, is technology making people less sociable? And remember, our prompt here is, what impact does it have on relationships? So does it make us have better relationships, or does it hurt our relationships? So it says, with the spread of mobile technology, it's becoming much easier for more people to maintain constant contact with their social networks online. And a lot of people are taking advantage of that opportunity. One indication, a recent Pew Research survey of adults in the US found that 71% use Facebook at least occasionally, and 45% of Facebook users check the site several times a day. I'm going to highlight that because that's going to be a good piece of evidence. And I'm going to say that this does not hurt our relationships. So I'm going to highlight that as no. This is a positive piece. This is good. So I'm going to say that for my claim, I'm going to say technology is more convenient and is helping people and then I'm going to use this. This would be kind of my evidence here. So I've got my claim, my evidence, and now I'm going to write a little bit of reasoning. Now, obviously, my reasoning is not going to be perfect. I'm not going to be able to just copy and paste all of this into an essay necessarily, but I'm going to get down my thought process here. So for my idea here that technology is helping people, so it's really impacting our relationships in a good way, because people are using the Facebook app and everything like that quite a bit. I'm going to say that being able to use this technology is allowing people to connect. And I'm going to take it one step further. And we're going to talk about how they don't maybe live nearby. So Facebook can help people connect. Okay, so I've got my claim, evidence, and reasoning for this one piece right here. If we keep going, that sounds like people are becoming more sociable, but some people think the opposite is happening. The problem, they say, is that we spend so much time maintaining superficial connections online that we aren't dedicating enough time or effort to cultivating deeper real-life relationships. Too much chatter, too little real conversation. Others counter that online social networks supplement face-to-face sociability. They don't replace it. These people argue that we can expand our social horizons online, deepening our connections to the world around us, and at the same time take advantage of technology to make our closest relationships even closer. So I'm going to highlight this part, and I'm going to make that red as well, because it's supporting this same idea here, okay? So I'm going to make another claim, and I'm going to put that down here. I'm going to say technology helps us feel closer to other people by maintaining contact. And then I'm going to come down here. This allows people to see family members or friends that they normally wouldn't. I'm going to put C in quotation marks actually. and then it helps families create close ties. So that's kind of how we want to approach this, is with the claims on the left side, your evidence is going to be what you highlight in the middle of the text, and then put your reasoning on the right side here. Okay, I am going to come up here and I'm going to highlight a little bit here with green, and I'm going to say this part right here will be my green, because this is kind of hindering our relationship. So my claim over here is that technology is distracting from forming real or deep relationships. And here's my evidence. And so my reasoning might say something like, obviously people, oops, it helps if I spell things right, can be distracted by technology and might use it too much or too often to make real connections. Keep that reasoning out there. Okay, so to finish off this little piece here, it says Larry Rosen, a professor of psychology at California State University, Dominguez Hills, says technology is distracting us from our real-world relationships. Keith N. Hampton, who holds the professorship in communication and public policy at Rutgers University School of Communication and Information, argues that technology is enriching those relationships and the rest of our social lives. Okay, this paragraph is significant here because our authors, I'm going to highlight, just generalized highlighting, they are very credible people, and so we know that we can trust what they're saying. They have different opinions, and you're going to see each side as you go through, but each author has education and communication, and so we can trust what they say. Okay, so this is what I would like to see for your annotations. And then down here at the bottom, you've got a couple of vocabulary pieces here that are already defined. But if there are words like enriching, okay, remember that we have, some of you may have this purple puzzle piece, which is the read write. It gives you the dictionary up here, or you can just go to a dictionary.com, okay, and make sure that we are also making our comments here about vocabulary and putting that in. So I'm going to define that word for you. Okay, let me actually make my, oh, that'll work, different color. Okay, so that is kind of a refresher of how you want to do your annotations for our PBA practice, and then our PBA will start on the 10th of May. So please let me know if you guys have questions about any of this.